Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And today I have for you Vancouver's premier orchestral doom band, Tribunal, who are about to release their sophomore album, In Penitence and Ruin, April the 18th on 20 Bucks Spin. Please welcome my guests, Soren Mourne and Etienne Flinn. How are you two?
Doing great.
Doing well. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. Now, I got spoiled a few days ago with an advance of In Penitence and Ruin, and my bird. I was like, this is serious, dense listening. For those who are maybe just tuning in, this is your second album, the follow-up to this brilliant album as well. The last one, The Weight
Well,
of
thank you.
Remembrance. Yeah, great record. So yeah, when I saw that you already had something coming out, which seemed to be fairly quick these days, because a lot of times it seems bands can take 300 years, but this is just such a dense listen. Where did all this come from? How long have you been working on this?
This one, we were lucky enough to get picked up by 20 Bucks Spin for our first album, but there was there was a bit of time to fit it in their calendar. So we ended up with about a year-ish between us being like totally done with The Weight of Remembrance and in its release. Mm-hmm. So most of this record, I would say we wrote in that intervening period because we knew we had signed to a 2-album deal with 20 Bucks Spin. We knew we were doing another release with them. So we figured might as well get on making that happen. Because, yeah, like you said, it's, we were keen to strike while the iron was hot, particularly, once we started to see the really strong reception to The Weight of Remembrance. And there's a lot of things that need to get done to make an album like this happen. So we were keen to get those things started as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and the songs on this record already feel they already had some age on them before. They already had some age on them. Certainly by the time that we started thinking about recording a second record, I think when was the last song?
I think Sword of the Slain was the last one, but I think it slid in pretty late compared to the rest of it.
Yeah, because I think that ones like A Wound Unhealing, when would that have been written? In 2022?
Yeah, I think certainly
that?
The bulk of my songs were written, like 2022 type territory. But.
Yeah, so there was a lot of time to workshop them and rework the songs with the full lineup, but most of the songs were written when we were still in this kind of interim period where we didn't quite have the full lineup.
Okay, gotcha. So the overall structures and ideas were in place just as far as putting all the pieces together were to follow. Is that?
Yeah, and we had been keen to sort of make a concept record this time around. So I think we had a lot of thoughts about exactly how we wanted that all to fit together. And so I think that there was a body of songs, maybe 10 to 12 to 20, depending on exactly what you want to count as a song. That were sort of being floated around, and we sort of pieced them together into this set of 8 and an interlude. Now,
well, I think that says a lot about your character, about how you're talking about you had this moment of time to start putting a new album together and ideas that you totally took advantage, like you said, strike while the iron is hot. And it seems to be paying off because the early buzz around this record, as far as reading what Decibel magazine was saying, in their top 21 anticipated albums of 2025, and I can start getting people jacked about it as well, because this is, like I was saying, serious, dense listening. I think definitely required on headphones, kind of by yourself, perhaps in a very dark room. Definitely not a spring summer album, I'd say. So I know what you're thinking there, but nonetheless, very good album. Like, where do these ideas for the composition and bringing in the orchestrations? Because I think that's what separates what you do to maybe some of your peers and some bands that might fall into sort of your category.
Yeah, we've never thought of ourselves as really an orchestral band. That was kind of a label that has been put on more by outside listeners, and fair enough. It's just not something that we kind of went into this thinking. Okay, we want this to be an orchestral doom project or something. It just the elements kind of naturally fell into place. I'm a cellist. I've played cello for a very long time, and I've always been keen to find a place for that in some of my metal work, and I think cello suits itself really well to the doom context. It's a very mournful, very emotive instrument, so it was really great when we kind of figured out a way just logistically to be able to integrate the cello into our sound and integrate it into our live performances, with me playing my electric cello. So with this record, we started writing the compositions with the cello as part of the core elements kind of from the ground up, whereas the compositions on the first record, we didn't really know whether it'd be feasible to be able to play the cello live or have it as part of our core setup. And we're pretty dedicated to not using backing tracks and being able to reproduce everything live. So that the cello was added in more kind of after the fact, and I think it blends in well, and we found a place for it. But this one, the cello just has a more central role, just because we were approaching it from the beginning as one of those central instruments. And we've also been keen to work with keys, because it just is another layer, another texture to add more kind of counter melodies and more texture in there. And since we've been working with we have a keyboardist now, and we knew that it was okay to put some more prominent melodies on the keys, because on the first record we do have keys, but they're kind of more in the background, so that if we weren't playing with a keyboardist, people wouldn't really miss those elements quite as much. But now that we've got a keyboardist in our band, then it made more sense to be able to play with that as a more core part of the palette.
Yeah, like I love symphonic metal. I'm a huge fan of it, but I have never really thought of us as being a band in that category so much as just a band who has specific members who play specific instruments like cello or like keyboard. But you really can create a real orchestral sound with that, and I think people are picking up on it. So.
Well, and it's subtle, and that's the thing. It's unfortunate to have to put the labels on the music, but with there being so many bands and so much out there to absorb, you kind of have to, in a way, just so you can kind of try to separate yourself, and hopefully people take the time to dive in and realize that you're much more than a orchestral doom band. But I appreciate the subtleties of the cello and the keys, and then also the way that both of your vocals complement each other. How does that work? And do you put a lot of thought into that, of who's going to be doing what and how to having it blend?
Yeah, that's something we put a lot of thought into when we're writing songs. You know, we usually tend to write most of the songs separately, but then we workshop the arrangements quite closely together. And we'll oftentimes be talking about, okay, would this sound better on this voice or that way? Or particularly on this new record, also experimenting a lot with blending voices and having, arrangements where we're both doing vocals together. And we oftentimes, try different ideas. And even up to the moment we're literally recording vocals in the studio, we throw around ideas. Like the big example that I've used a couple times now, because I think it's really telling, is the chorus of Incarnadine, the lead single. It's sort of, it starts, originally was written to start with the first half all clean, second half all harsh. And it was really last minute that I said, we should have the clean vocal come back on the last line of the harsh half to sort of tie the whole thing together. And you listen to it now, and I'm like, I don't understand why it's strange to me that we just didn't do this for years, because it seems like such a core part of the song now. Or other times there might be a bit where it's like, okay, there's a clean vocal here, but I don't have a good idea for the melody. The melody's not coming together. A great solution for that is to just fucking scream it. So yeah, just that kind of back and forth, try out different ideas, see what works.
Well, that's an interesting take on Incarnadine, because now I'm going to listen to it differently. I'm going to try to envision and listen and hear how it might have been the first time around. Now you also have Rory Say. I know him slightly, just to say hey, but people who don't know him, he contributed vocals as well to the album. What was it? Just some screaming? What's his deal?
Just some screams here and there. He's got a great, very, very, he can do a lot of really prolonged kind of deep guttural sounds. So some of the big funereal kind of moments, or really long like black metal style screams are his contributions.
Yeah, like he's a very close mate of the band, and he's been like hanging around for a lot of the recording process. And I find particularly with harsh vocals, because you don't have melody, it's really good to just lean on like different textures to create more dynamic variation, so it doesn't sound as samey. And I do some lows and I do some highs, but it's really fun to have another voice in there who can just he does some like really funereal low gutturals that I can't do. He's got some higher shrieks. He can hold notes much longer than I can. So just like kind of it's having a little bit of a different vocal toolbox. He's actually on both records, and we just like brought him in for just a couple quick punch-ins to just increase the variety.
Add a bit more color to the album.
Yeah.
There you go. So you mentioned Incarnadine single and then Almost Armored in Shadow. Both are crushing. Is there plans to release maybe one more before the record's out, or is that the taster for the general public till April 18th?
That's the $20 spin standard, I think, is two singles.
Smart.
And,
Don't overdo it.
Yeah, and then a full like a full album stream on YouTube. I think they usually do a couple days before. But yeah, no more singles right now. We had a lot of fun shooting music videos, so like, you know, I think we have very vague ideas of doing that again for a song like some point down the line. But aside from that, like,
yeah,
I think the album will be coming up pretty soon now. So.
Oh, totally. But I want to talk about, because I've listened, I think it's 3 times I've gone through and I just let it absorb. I just let it go and not, but I keep noticing when I'm kind of getting to the end, and it hit me the first time, because like I'm saying, throughout it's solid, the flow is great. But between the sea and stars, I find there's just a little bit of extra juice on that. Was that designed as the album closure, or was that just kind of the way everything fell together?
That one was, we definitely moved a lot of pieces around on this album. Like, for example, Incarnadine for a long time was something we weren't thinking of as the opener. But Between the Sea and Stars was sort of, from the moment we first brought it in, very much envisioned as the closer. That's kind of the way it would fit. It was the song that I wasn't sure we were going to do. Like, I had written it. I think it felt, certainly, at least in its initial form, it really felt the most different from anything we'd done before. So I wasn't sure if it was gonna make sense for us to do it. But I think from the moment I brought it in, it was like, if we have the song on the album, it's got to be the closer.
Yeah,
it won't fit anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a bit of a different kind of vibe from the rest of the songs. At least that's how it feels to me. So it's yeah, I think that you can have a little bit more latitude to put something a bit different when it is on the closer spot, because you're not thinking, okay, how will, you know, more standard song sound coming in right after this one, and also I think kind of it having a bit more relaxed and more kind of pensive mood to it fits nicely with kind of giving the album a send off.
Good place to wind the energy down.
No, you definitely hit it on the mood, but also your vocals Soren, are just mint. Like, they just fit the song beautifully. I don't know. It's just very comforting but haunting at the same time.
Thanks.
Yeah, I absolutely loved your performance on that one so much. That we really put a lot of work into all the vocals on the record, but that one in particular was one of those ones that
we spent a lot of time with the vocals. We had a first round of vocals actually that we had recorded and sent off to our mix engineer Jesse Gander, and he sent a mix back, and that was the only song on the record where I was like, I'm not okay with how my vocals sound here. They sound really strange. They don't sound like me. It was just very soft and kind of, I don't know. So we ended up re-recording the vocals for almost that entire song pretty much right at the last minute. So those are among the last vocals that we recorded on the record. And I feel a lot better with the way that the vocals came out, because it is a bit of a softer kind of style for me. And so finding somewhere that still felt like myself, but it didn't sound like I was, you know, pushing it too much or kind of putting on a mask. It was challenging, but I've gotten, we've definitely gotten some positive feedback on the vocals on that one. So it's, shows that sometimes it's good to take a risk and do something a bit different. And I'm also glad that we put in that time at the end just to wrap it up in a way that we all felt good about.
Perfect. And you mentioned Jesse Gander, producer. Now with In Penitence and Ruin, from the Weight of Remembrance, did you learn any valuable things from the first record that helped make this a smoother experience?
Learned so many things. We forgot half of them and relearned them again. It's so much work making a record like this. There were definitely a lot of big learns. It was really, really great getting to work with Jesse because he's local Vancouver. And so it was really wonderful during the mixing process to be able to go into the space with them, like hear the songs in that space and then have that direct feedback in person. That was really great. But yeah, honestly, we write fairly complex layered music with a lot of parts, and it remains a lot of work to record. So
it takes a long time, definitely, but I think we were a lot more efficient this time. Also because we have a full lineup, and our guitarist Jessica Yang also is proficient with operating DAWs, and so so she recorded the guitars with Etienne, and so then the kind of so then I focused on, I could record recording the vocals and the cello and the bass, but having that labor more divided was really great. And yeah, as Etienne said, the working with someone in person, I think it was a really good move, and that was something that we kind of thought about from last time. I know I know Markov quite well, and know Markov for quite a while, who produced the last record, but there definitely is a limit and just a time impact of just being in separate cities, the effect of kind of going back and forth on a document of notes versus being able to actually physically be in the studio and in real time say, oh, like a little bit more like this or a little bit more like that. It was really great. And so I think that was a lesson that we learned, just kind of affirmed in this record, that we definitely want to do as much kind of in-person work as possible.
Well, now that you mentioned that, it definitely comes through as far as it being overall a very organic sounding album, and it does sound very personal. Doesn't seem like it's bits and pieces recorded here and there over a longer period of time. Like, it's definitely a very close type feel to the album. Now, Soren, you've done the artwork painting for this album as well as the debut. What's going on there? That's quite the skill you got in talent. Is that where do you find the time and the inspiration to get that done?
Uh, I don't know where I find the time. My main larger artistic projects that I do these days are exclusively band related. So all of I feel like my main visual artistic outlet is through these projects with the band. Right after we finished recording, kind of, well, we were still in the end of recording.
I think there was a fair amount of overlap there.
Yeah, during from about October to December, I was working on that piece. So I was very immersed in the world of the album at the time, because we were in the midst of the mixing process and finishing up recording, and then I would just go back home and just go put in some hours on with this big oil painting. So I liked it. It was very intense at the time, but I liked doing it in that kind of way when I was very much in the world of the album, and I could just be fully immersed in it, kind of visually and sonically and thematically. It was great having the full lineup with going into this project, because I really wanted to make sure that everybody felt kind of reflected in the artwork, because it's me who goes away and does the actual painting and everything. But there were a lot of conversations between myself and the rest of the crew in terms of what the kind of mood was and the vision, and sharing some different sketches with everybody. So hopefully now it's something that everybody can feel reflected in.
And do you find it easier to work on it during the process of recording, or is it just easier to kind of wait until the album's kind of close to wrapping up before you fully get involved as far as having maybe the vision of how the album has taken shape as a whole?
Yeah, I think we needed to wait more till the end. So I still was in the process, but it was closer to the end, and I don't think that full vision would have come together until closer to the end. I know that we had some kind of earlier conversations, like, well, a lot of conversations while we were in the van on tour, kind of thinking about different concepts. But I think it's just that the album cover gives such a kind of color to the record. For any record, I always visualize the album cover so strongly whenever I'm listening to one of my favorite records, and they're just so inextricably linked, that I feel like I needed to have the full kind of image of exactly where the record went and the mood and everything, in order to be able to manifest that visually. Definitely ends up in a bit of a time crunch at the end, but it was perhaps inevitable.
But sometimes the gun to the head can help a little bit, depending.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes. Now, you're talking about having the vinyl or the album in your hands, and there's going to be some different versions and different colored vinyl and so forth coming out. Where can we direct people to look for and purchase physical product of Tribunal?
We got, of course, I think there's a Bandcamp store for the label, as well as like $20 spent at our own web store. I know there's a exclusive Decibel magazine version on vinyl, which is really incredibly cool. Very grateful for that. I think I've definitely seen the first one floating around a couple local Vancouver record stores, which is really cool. Hopefully, this next one will as well. And of course, the best place to find it is we'll have copies for sale at our two upcoming like BC area shows. We'll be playing in Victoria and then Vancouver to celebrate the new album.
There
So,
we go. That's what we wanted to get to. So May 2nd, you're playing in Victoria with
yep.
Tribunal, Shroud, and Scalding, and then you play Vancouver on the 18th of May uh, with the Nausea and Tiver. That's at the newish club, the Kingsway Club.
Yeah, I haven't been there before, but I'm very excited to check it out.
Well, there you go. So if you go to, just letting people know as well, if you go to differentstagesradio.com, there's direct ticket links for you to purchase tickets for these shows, as well as there's also pre-order links on differentstagesradio.com so you can get your copy of In Penitence and Ruin on CD and vinyl as well. Now, will you have any of the fancy vinyl editions at your shows, or are you going to be a bit secretive, or are you still waiting to get boxes in the mail?
I think we're going to open a box in the mail and it's going to have what it has in it. So we'll find out.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
And
it's hard to tell what anything is happening, with anything to do with the American border right now.
Yeah.
It's a bit touch and go. So,
and I think particularly with the fact that there's more vinyl variants this time than we had on the last record. So I would say if any fans are very keen to get a particular color or a particular pattern, you should probably just grab the exact one you want online. But we'll have something at our shows, and it will look nice.
Nonetheless. And then you also have two shows in Washington. Speaking of America, May 5th, Northwest Terror Fest. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Terror Fest. We've both gone in the past. I've got a group of friends who come down from Vancouver and party excessively down there for Terror Fest. And it was an absolute honor to be, invited to graduate from a fan and attendee to a performing artist. So we're really looking forward to that.
And hopefully you have some product there as well to sell. And then May 11th at the Shakedown in Bellingham.
Yeah, that's just.
I've seen some good shows there. That's a neat little room. Have you played there before?
Have not been there before, but yeah, just excited to play more while we're in the area. So
you're playing in the front window.
Okay, very cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it's definitely got a cool vibe. Otherwise, any other 2025 plans in the works? Any other tours that you're in the process of working on, or anything taking shape?
Absolutely. I love playing live. We love playing live. I am probably the single thing that I'm most excited for around this new album release is to be able to go and play these new songs to audiences who hopefully will be at least somewhat familiar with them and will be somewhat interested in them. So nothing nailed down, but a lot of plans throughout the rest of the year and into the fall that we are working hard on and will hopefully be announcing in the coming months.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to be working with a booking agent now, Kevin from Atomic Music Group, which has been really great because booking shows.
I hate booking shows.
It's very hard, and it takes a very specific type of person to really want to put in that work to set up a run and get everything running smoothly. So the runs that we did with him last year were really great. So I'm sure he'll be putting together something good for us in the coming months.
Any chances of getting to Europe at all, do you think?
Nothing currently in the works, but that is absolutely the goal. I think listening to our sound, I think of us as being a very European influenced band. I think most of our biggest influences, whether that's My Dying Bride, Candlemass, Draconian, are all very European bands. So that's the goal, that's the dream, that's the thing we're vaguely planning on working on next year.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah, that's where our sights are certainly set in that direction. So we'll see where things go.
Yeah.
And aside from the bands you just mentioned, any other dream bands that are still active that you would very much like to tour with?
Those are, yeah.
I mean, lots of bands. Like we had great times doing local opener slots for both Catatonia and Swallow the Sun, who are two of my absolute favorite bands. But we've also had really cool times playing with bands that are a little bit different than us, that, maybe have that. Like, I think that there are a lot of different musical elements in Tribunal that can connect through to a lot of different types of bands. So
it's also very fun to tour with people you like. That's the main thing. And so I think we're pretty open to touring with a number of different acts. If it's, you know, good people and we've got some kind of shared musical element, I think that's one of the most important things. So would like to go on the road with more pals in the future. So.
Well, I think the future is looking very bright for a doom band Tribunal. 2025 is looking pretty strong, and I think people should definitely pick up a physical copy of In Penitence and Ruin on April the 18th, or at one of the upcoming record release shows, album release shows, May 2nd in Victoria and May 18th in Vancouver. And by all means, make sure you check them out at the Northwest Terrorfest in Seattle on May the 10th and in Bellingham on May 11th. And we will hope for more dates and bigger runs for Tribunal throughout 2025. And also, don't forget about their last record too, because it kicks ass as well. So I thank you both for being a part of Different Stages Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.